Okay, let's get straight into today's report. We're diving into four pretty significant confrontations happening right now.
Yeah, we're looking at that situation in LA with the fire victims and fines, then Governor DeSantis taking a hard line on attacks against ICE.
Right, and also the White House pushing back hard on Chuck Schumer's shutdown talk, and maybe a bit lighter, the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing.
Exactly. It's really a snapshot of how policy and, frankly, public pressure are clashing, from local bureaucracy all the way up to federal fights and even media standards.
Let's start local then, in Los Angeles. The Palisades fire back in January, devastating. Wiped out over 200 structures, just total loss for so many.
And the aftermath, well, that's where it gets problematic. We're seeing hundreds of residents, people who lost literally everything, getting hit with $750 fines from the LA Fire Department.
Fines? Fines for what?
For not clearing brush on properties that were, already burned to the ground, reduced to ash.
Wait, seriously, they were fined for not clearing brush on lots that had already burned.
That's right. It seems like it wasn't intentional malice, but more a case of automated systems just grinding forward. The bureaucracy couldn't adapt to the reality on the ground. Mandatory notices sent out regardless.
So the computers just kept sending fines even after the homes were gone.
Yeah.
Well, that's more than a disconnect. You can see why people are furious, especially if aid was already slow.
Precisely. It really starkly illustrates how rigid systems can completely fail to grasp, human catastrophe.
Okay, shifting gears now to Florida. Governor DeSantis, on September 25th, laid down a marker about protecting law enforcement.
Yes, a very resolute defense, specifically aimed at protecting ICE agents. He vowed zero tolerance for any attacks, especially with some of the anti-border rhetoric heating up nationally.
He used some strong language, didn't he?
He did. He explicitly rejected what he called Portland-style chaos and promised swift, severe consequences for anyone targeting federal agents operating in Florida. Very firm stance.
And how does this fit into the bigger political picture?
Well, the argument being made is that this directly reflects the mandate from the 2024 election, a demand for strong interior enforcement. It puts the state's authority squarely behind federal officers.
And it follows that big operation they had in August.
Right, the one in the Panhandle that resulted in nearly 200 arrests. So the message is clear. Action, not just words, on enforcement.
Okay, let's pivot to D.C. federal level now. Senate Leader Chuck Schumer making some waves, threatening a government shutdown.
Yes, just before the September 30 deadline. The demands centered on keeping federal funding for certain transgender surgeries and also specific benefits for illegal immigrants.
And the White House reaction, not exactly subtle, I gather.
Not at all. They responded quite dramatically, ordered federal agencies to start preparing for mass terminations, a real hardline countermove.
Mass terminations, what does that signal?
It basically forces the issue. It accelerates the whole mission of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. The push to cut spending deemed wasteful and redirect taxpayer money to core functions like deportation efforts.
So the interpretation is that Schumer's threat kind of backfired. It actually sped up the administration's agenda to cut certain spending.
That's the analysis, yeah. Preparing for terminations lets the administration shield key priorities while simultaneously moving to dismantle funding streams they oppose. It puts huge pressure back on the Senate. Fund these priorities or face a shutdown in these cuts. It definitely strengthens the White House's hand on fiscal matters, seen by some as a real self-inflicted wound for Schumer.
All right, lastly, let's touch on the media side. Sinclair bringing Jimmy Kimmel back.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel Live is returning to Sinclair-owned ABC stations after they pulled it for a week.
And the pull was a protest, right, over comments he made?
Exactly. It was related to inflammatory remarks Kimmel made concerning the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. But the key part here isn't just the return, it's Sinclair's follow-up.
What's the follow-up?
They've committed publicly to accurate content, sure, but they also propose setting up an independent ombudsman. The idea is to specifically curb perceived late-night political bias.
An ombudsman for late night. Well, that's more than just bringing a show back. That sounds like a push for actual structural change.
It is. It reframes the whole incident. It's being presented as a successful push, fueled by viewer pressure through the network ownership, demanding more accountability and maybe less partisanship in that space.